The Cadillac Lyriq is Cadillac's first dedicated EV, and I have a lot to say about this design. I think Cadillac is one of the brands that are making the sharpest designs right now, specifically when it comes to sedan. But in this video, we're gonna have a look at this Lyriq, talk about the front, side, rear, interior, and then I'm going to make a tiny little tweak to the design and let you know what I think about specifically the rear end that needs to change. So it's starting at $62,990, and that's for the single motor that comes with 340 horsepower, but add only $2,000 and you get the dual motor with 500 horsepower. So I'm not sure why you would pick the single motor, maybe for the range, which is 312 miles of range for the single motor. Maybe that drops a little bit when you add another motor. I'm not sure yet, but let's have a look at this design. As I said, Cadillac currently crushing it with their design. I think they've been crushing it since 2015, around that time, and really nailing their design language, which is super sharp. It feels like Cadillacs have been designed by a ruler design in combination with very, very cool graphics. And you have the taillights and the headlights being part of the line flow in their design. Specifically looking at the CT5 and the CT4, I think those are two of the best looking sedans on the market today, specifically in the Blackwing trim. Before we continue with the redesign, I'd like to take a minute to thank today's sponsor, Skillshare. I want to encourage you to take some time to explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity, and that's exactly what you can do on Skillshare. If you're unfamiliar with Skillshare, it's an online learning community with thousands of classes in a wide range of topics. You find the classes that interest you, from drawing and sketching to business and strategy classes that will help you grow professionally. And most classes are straight to the point, and you can watch them at your own pace to fit your daily routine. I've been on the platform for a number of years now, both as a teacher and a student. I'm a fan of Aaron Draplin's design classes on Skillshare, and specifically his new class, Dirty Design with Draplin, Crusty Techniques to create truly original work. I've always wanted to improve my graphic design skills. So I do know industrial design, but not graphic design, and his classes give me new angles on how I can work on my thumbnails and also create my business logo. Skillshare expands constantly with new premium classes every week, and the entire catalog is now available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. However, here's the coolest part. Since Skillshare is sponsoring this video, they like to offer you, my subscribers, 1 month of free premium membership. However, you have to act fast, because only the first 1,000 people to use the link or my code will get 1 month free trial on Skillshare. So go ahead and click the link in the description or use my code on the website Skillshare.com to get your 1 month of free trial. Let's have a look at this front end here. There's a lot going on in the Lyriq's front end, and I kinda like it, but I also think maybe it's a little overstyled right here in the front end, specifically when you have these lights turned on. These are graphics that are going to be on every single Cadillac EV up to 2030 to have a new design identity for the front end of their EVs. But you do have these huge light bars in both sides of the front end. I think this is also one of these details that Cadillac do well, because when you have two light bars like this, it really emphasizes the width of the car, because you have those light bars at the very end of the sides, so you feel like it's super wide when it comes at you at night, and I think it's really cool. And I also do like this new grille that we have with this light sequence that lights up when you turn on the car. It looks really cool. Super tiny so-called headlights up here. As you know, these are just positioning lights, while the proper headlights are actually sitting right next to this light bar right here with these dotted lights that goes down in a line like that. So looking at it at a side view, and just have a look at this super nice line flow from the front end, top of the corner of the front end graphics, cutting all the way into the body and going into this line right here that then dips down in the rear end, which we're gonna have a look at next. I think it's just a stunning looking design, and details like this detail right here, for example. Have a look at this trim piece down here, but as you can see, it goes all the way down here and then dips right up, right where the door ends. And looking at the top graphic, we have the same kind of trim framing the greenhouse and then going down, but they both end at the very same point, and that is good design. You have a connection from the top half of the car to the lower part with graphic details like this, the end points of the graphics, and then you have the connection from the front end to the rear with this gorgeous shoulder line that we have right here, and this bottom line as well, connecting all kinds of lines from the top to the bottom, front to rear. One of these things that Cadillac really knows how to do. I would definitely go with these 22-inch wheels. I think smaller wheels than this might be more comfortable, but me, I'm all about looks. I'd rather have a little more bumpy rides and add 22 inches here instead of, I think, the 20s that are the standard wheels. Now, looking at the rear end, this is where it gets interesting. We talked about the great line flow. We have this line flow right here, this line, shoulder line going into this, and you can see that it also wraps around the entire car. Then we have this bottom line right here that doesn't really connect to anything, and this is where the problems start for me. It's still a very good looking rear end. I do like the treatment of this light up here. I haven't seen a light bar implemented in this way, cutting so far into the C pillar right here, or D pillar, and then goes down and kind of wraps around the rear end, with it almost fading with the LEDs right here. You see they get smaller and smaller, which I think it's a really cool treatment of a light bar, a new innovative design. And then we have this piece, and this is the piece that I think looks like it's been cut. The body has been cut by a sword, and this is a flesh wound that doesn't really fit in with the rest of the graphics. And why do I say that? Because we have this trim piece, as we talked about, going in from the side in and housing this graphic feature right here, but it doesn't connect to anything. It has zero connection up here. It doesn't have any connection to the bottom part, and it kind of feels like it's just out of place. So what I want to do in this redesign is to switch this out and make some adjustments to the positioning and to the angle of this to have more connections to the top part graphic up here. We're gonna go into the redesign in just a minute, but first I want to show you this view as well, because this angle is probably my favorite angle of the Lyriq. I think it looks great. It looks stately and stunning with these two big lines stretching all across the car, and it actually doesn't even look like an EV, and I really appreciate that from Cadillac. And you can still get 312 miles of range with a design that looks like it's stylized as an internal combustion engine car, and that's why I'm a little bit against all these companies now making these bean shapes. Yes, you might get 325 instead of 312 miles of range, but this looks so much better than 95% of all the other EVs out there, in my opinion. It's a stunning car. Looking at the interior, this is also where it gets very modern and crazy with technology. You have a massive screen right here. As you can see, this is curved, and in addition, this is actually one single screen. Usually what companies do is that they have a panel like this, or a surface like this, but inside they have different screens, so they're disconnected like this. But in this case, this is actually one entire screen, and I don't know how much that added to the cost of the production, but for the starting price of $62,000, I think this is a really cool feature, and I'm really amazed that Cadillac managed to get a feature like this in a car at this price point. I really like that we have this little piece of the screen being outside of the steering wheel for the range and important information like that, and then you have the infotainment being on the right side of the screen with the traditional gauge clustering info being right centered in the middle. It's a very clean looking interior with a unique design on the steering wheel as well, as you can see right here. But now let's have a look at the redesign here, and what I think about this graphic feature that sticks up and cuts in like a wound in the car that doesn't seem to have a connection to the rest of the body. So what I want to do here, it's a very quick redesign, but I think it's going to make some sense. You see the lower part of the bumper, the top part of the bumper, the lower part of the rear end, the black diffuser, it has a trim piece that goes on top of it, which is silver. I want to have that silver piece continue into the corners of the car, and then go up in the same angle and connect with the light that we have up top in the C-pillar. So I want to have the C-pillar light be in line with the lower light as well. So we have a connection between the two major graphics in the rear end. So it would make a lot more sense, in my opinion, when you saw it like that. Specifically looking at it at night, you would have a line that goes from the top and then continues through the body into the bottom part of the car, similar to what we have in the, I think it's the CT4 or the CT5, I can't remember which one has that, in the front end, where it looks like it has one single light LED that kind of goes and hides behind the bodywork for a little bit and then comes back at the bottom. That's kind of the same feeling that I want to have here. I want to be able to sketch one line from the top part graphic that goes into the rear end, and then we can make a nice framing of the bottom of the rear end by doing this as well, because we can corner out the lower part of the new graphics that I'm going to position here in the lower part of the rear end, and it will create a better, in my opinion at least, better line flow for the rear end. Other than that, I think Cadillac is now on a roll when it comes to designs. As I said, this is an EV. It's a dedicated EV. It was designed from the start to be electric. And what I really appreciate from Cadillac here is that they decided to not make it into a bean shape. The thing is, I couldn't see this a Cadillac design, even though it was electric. I just couldn't imagine it being bean shaped, because Cadillac is, as you know, a very sharply designed brand. All their cars have a lot of angles to them, sharp angles and sharp graphics. So this is definitely the way to go to create a Cadillac EV. And I think they did an absolutely fantastic job, not just with the exterior, but also with the technology that we have in the interior, specifically at this price point. That would be the car that makes sense to me, the dual motor 500 horsepower for $64,000, with, of course, you gotta have the 20-inch wheels as an option. So I don't know how much that would add to the price, but that's definitely something that I would need to have on my Cadillac Lyriq. And that's the small change I wanted to make in the rear end. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.